Hey everybody. Well, I'm here in Trona, California, which is about 25 miles east of Ridgecrest on the way to Death Valley. The place gets a bad rap. It's declined over the years as things have changed out here, but it's still not a bad little place. I got friends that live out here. My buddy David Brigden and his wife Michelle. Dave works here. They both live here. We visit often. It's actually not a bad little place. But behind me is the Searles Valley Mineral plant, and that's where Dave works. And it is the reason Trona exists. I guess actually you'd say that Searles Dry Lake is the reason Trona exists, because it's the reason the plant exists. There are 97 of the 104 known minerals, naturally occurring minerals, are on this lake bed, and they are mined and processed here in this plant. Hopefully I'll be able to do a tour of this plant at some point in the future using Dave's stroke, and I'll put that up too. But for this segment, I just want to do a little piece on Trona itself, on the community. And as you can see behind me, this plant is a very large operation. It's been owned by several different companies over the years, and it is a big thing. But anyway, they started mining this lake as early as the 1850s. Individuals, Borax Smith was one of them, but it started gaining momentum in the early 1900s. They started constructing this plant along with the Trona Railway to serve it and connect with the Southern Pacific Owenyo branch at Searles Station. I will be doing a piece on the Trona Railway at some point in the future. But for now, I'm just going to cruise around Trona, show you some of the sights, and talk a little bit about what little I do know about the place. So come along, see what we can see. Over by the, just the other side, kind of across the street from the plants, the old guest house museum. Jennifer and I have been out here to visit Dave and Michelle many times, and I've never seen this place open, which is a shame because I'd really like to check it out. They have the Gem and Mineral show out here every October, and I'm told that it's always open during that, so maybe this year we'll come out and check it out during that. As you can see, there's the plant running on down to the north there. This part of the plant here, and this is towards the north end of the plant, Dave said that this part of the plant, most of it is no longer being used, and you can see it looks pretty quiet over there. Nothing on the stacks, no noise, and a lot of rust. And as you look north out of Trona, you can see the snow on the mountain out there. That is on the other side of those mountains is Death Valley. That's the Panamint Range out there. But well, the real reason I wanted to stop right here is this place right here. It is Esparza's restaurant. It's very good. We always have breakfast when we come out here. But that is the former Fox Theater in Trona. And it was built, I think it's in 1953. They had a big gala opening. I can't remember the movie stars. They had a couple of movie stars actually come promote the opening of it. At that time, Trona was a thriving town. It had a lot of people still lived here, and a lot of company things here, company stores, recreation centers. They had swimming pools out by Pioneer Point. It was a big deal. Well, we've moved on out to the north end of the plant, according to my friend Dave. Most of this part of the plant is no longer used. Obviously, back there where the steam is, there's something going on there. And looking back up toward the main part of the plant where we started out. And moved on a little bit up to the very north end of the plant. That part there is obviously still working, and you can see the rail cars up there for the Trona Railway. Looks like a balloon track, and a balloon track is just something that industries use for their railroad service. They can bring a train in, have an engine pulling it. They don't have to do any switching to get the whole train into the plant. They just bring it in, and the track is a big circular, looks like a balloon, and it allows the train to be pulled into the plant, and they can break it apart once they get into the plant without having to do a whole bunch of switching to accomplish that. Saves a lot of time and a lot of room. And you can see the T for Trona up on the mountain. And this was once the community recreation center here in Trona. It's a pretty good sized building. I don't know when it was abandoned. Looks like it's been abandoned for a long time, but cool that they had, as I was talking about earlier, the company used to have a lot of things like this. That's up looking up at the north end of the lake there, and one of the churches there in Trona. And a little bit north of Trona, of the town proper, you can see the plant down there where the steam is. Out here, this is an area called Pioneer Point. This is where our friends Dave and Michelle live. Trails Drive-In right there. Really good burgers. And taking this road on out, it will go out through Ballarat to Panamint Springs. Actually, just east of Panamint Springs is where it ties into Highway 190, and 190 goes over the hill into Death Valley. You can see the big tall peak there with snow on it. That's Telescope Peak, which is about an 11, if I'm not mistaken, it's about 11,000 feet, and right across from Dante's View, and in between those is Badwater. So you've got an 11,000 foot peak there, and then Badwater just probably 10 miles distant from it down in Death Valley at 282 feet below sea level. Well, we are at the extreme north end of the plant. Right there you can see the rail cars on the balloon track. We're at up above it now. You can see a while ago we were considerably below it. But anyway, this is the Trona Cemetery. I've always seen the sign, but go out there and see if there are any interesting names, dates, or headstones. This is the gravesite of my friend David Brigden's parents. Laverne and David. Cool little thing. Together we meet again. One thing I've noticed, can say what you want about toxic chemicals and stuff, but there are a lot of people who were very long-lived. One gravesite I saw, gal was 104 years old, 103 I guess, June 7, 1894 to January 4th, 1997. Nothing unusual about this cemetery other than it is dirt. I used to think, and was led to believe when I was younger, nothing grew out here because of the chemicals in the plant and all that stuff. But as I've got to know more about this town and some of the people who lived here, that's not true. The lack of grass and Trona, as is in many desert communities. Water's a precious commodity out here, and they don't want to waste it on grass. They already have dirt. Trona doesn't have its own potable water. It is pumped in from Ridgecrest, where the company owns water rights. And so the water they do get out here needs to be used for practical purposes, and when you get right down to it, grass is not all that practical, especially in the desert. But Trona gets a bad rap, as I said earlier, for a lot of things, but it's actually a very clean place. It does have a lot of dilapidated parts of town, but that's only because the fortunes of this town changed over the years, and people moved away. And just like with any other town, when people move away and abandon homes, well, it's just a lot more noticeable in a small town. Trona's really not an ugly place. It's just had its problems like a lot of other towns, and it's just a little more noticeable. We're up here kind of eye level with the balloon track. Try to get it where you can see it. But as you can see, they can provide a lot more storage using a track like this than having all these tracks piled up within the plant. It would take an enormous amount of switching to get all this stuff done. You can see how the track comes in from the center of the frame there and loops around, and then other parts of the track go out a little further to the right. There's a lot of storage out here. I know they used to fire this plant with coal. I'm assuming they still do, and so they brought coal trains out here regularly to fuel the plant, and then they haul a boatload of product out of here. It's just soda ash, potash, borax. There were just, like I said, in the beginning, there's so many minerals on that lake. They can make a whole bunch of stuff. And it was bright and sunny just a few minutes ago. Now it's starting to cloud up, get cold again. This is one of the more sad side effects of the dwindling fortunes and economy of Trona and towns like it, but specifically Trona here. These places are almost this whole street. There's only one house on it that has anyone living in it anymore. These houses are just abandoned. They have for sale signs on them. This one hasn't been abandoned all that long. It's got a direct TV dish. But anyway, there are a lot of places like this in different parts of town. There are still some nice places in Trona, but unfortunately, there are parts of town like this too. And those two buildings right there are the home of the Searles Lake Gem and Mineral Society. And every year they have a big gem and mineral show here in Trona. And hopefully this year we'll get the chance to come check it out. And they have a lot of activities, I'm told, that are cool. They give tours out on the lake. And speaking of the lake, that is Searles Dry Lake. It is laced with miles and miles of piping, and they flood sections of it. And then as the water begins to evaporate, it leaches the minerals, and then those are mined. I'm not exactly sure how the process works, but it is a vast enterprise, very successful, and more wealth has been mined off this lake since it started operating in the early 1900s than all the gold that has ever been mined in California. And that is a pretty significant sum. All right, we are down at the south end of the plant along Trona Road. We're looking north along the plant. Anyway, the reason I stopped here, you can see some more storage tracks for the Trona Railway right there. But these, or this, a large one and a small one, these are steam pipes. And driven by them a lot of times and never asked anything about them until yesterday when Dave and I were driving through, and I parked my pickup right there so you can see this large pipe's pretty good size. It looks like it's probably 18 inches in diameter. These are steam pipes, and originally the plant out at West End, I'm told, which is that plant way out there. I'll stop when we get a little closer to it. But anyway, these steam lines, they go way out there. I'm not sure what the one that goes out there does, but the one that peels off and goes that way, they use this steam to power the plant out at West End. I didn't ask Dave what the other one went to. But anyway, I just thought I'd stop and go over the steam pipes, and they also use steam to power a lot of things in the plant. At one time there was a cogen plant up here that they purchased power from, but that plant was shut down. So now they use steam to do a lot of the work that the cogens used to do. Okay, we are out about 5 miles south of Trona. This is the West End facility. It's now part of Searles Valley Minerals, but at one time it was its own company. I think it was called American Chemical Company or American Soda Ash, something like that. But I believe they produced borax out here originally. I don't know if that's what they still produce. East across the lake, there you can see the Trona Railroad running off around the curve there. That is the West End facility. So that will bring an end to the road trip to Trona. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as I said, I have some more segments I want to do on some of these interesting places out in the desert. I'm glad you followed me on the first one, and I hope you'll keep up with me on the other ones as usual. Like, subscribe, share this with your friends who may be interested in this kind of stuff. And I hope to see more of you, and I hope to see the rest of you again soon. See you guys later.